Today, we're going to break down 6 totally normal habits that might just be the secret reason you're feeling so mentally wiped out. And here's the thing, the answers are hiding in plain sight.
Does this sound familiar? You just get this frustrating sense that you're losing that sharp, creative edge you used to have, even when you feel like you're doing all the right things. Well, trust me, you are not alone.
But here's an idea. What if the real problem isn't some kind of personal failing? What if it's just our habits? These are the subtle, everyday things we all do that are quietly eating up our mental space, and we don't even realize it's happening.
So let's start with the most obvious culprit in the room, right? That little device that's probably in your hand or pocket. Our first 2 habits are all about how we use our phones.
Come on, we all do it. We call it chilling out or unwinding. But what's actually going on inside our brains when we're lost in that endless feed? Well, the answer is probably not what you think.
It really all comes down to a concept called cognitive bandwidth. Now, think of it like your brain's daily battery. You only have so much charge for the day, and every single demand, every post, every notification, every video, it just drains a little bit of that power.
And this really gets to the core of it. Scrolling isn't rest. It's actually work for your brain. The whole system is designed to give you these random little hits of dopamine, kind of like a slot machine, that keep you hooked but leave you feeling totally exhausted, not recharged.
Okay, let's look at the next habit, which is basically treating our own lives like we're putting on a performance for an audience of followers. Every single time we post something just hoping for likes, we're making this weird emotional transaction.
The psychology behind why this feels so hollow after a while is actually fascinating. It's a real thing called hedonic adaptation. That little thrill you get from the first few likes, it fades. And pretty soon, you're chasing more and more of it just to feel, well, normal.
And this is the real long-term price we pay. You end up trading a solid internal sense of who you are for a really fragile one that depends completely on a screen. You lose that core identity that truly grounded, intelligent people work so hard to build.
All right, let's switch gears a bit. We've talked about the external drains, now let's look at the internal ones. These next 2 habits are the comforting little lies our own minds tell us that keep us completely stuck. Oh, we have all made this promise to ourselves, right? I'll start tomorrow. One day, I'll finally get to it. It feels like we're being responsible and planning ahead, but really, it's one of the most effective ways we sabotage ourselves. And there's a wild reason for this. Psychologists call it temporal self-displacement. Basically, your brain doesn't see your future self as you. It literally sees a stranger who is somehow, magically, going to have all the time and energy to do the hard stuff. So here's the trade-off. Your right now self gets a cheap little dopamine hit just by thinking about doing the work, which kind of scratches the itch. Meanwhile, that poor stranger, your future self, gets stuck with all the actual, work. And that leads us perfectly into another mental trap, this whole myth of motivation. We've been taught to just sit around and wait for a spark of inspiration before we act. But what if that's the very thing that's holding us back? The real goal, then, should be this: automaticity. This is that sweet spot where your habits are so ingrained that they don't need an emotional push to get started. They just run on autopilot, powered by systems and discipline, not by feelings. This just says it all, doesn't it? Truly effective people don't wait until they feel like it. They build a plan, and then they follow the plan. They let their logical mind take the lead, not their unpredictable emotions.
Let's get into our final section, which is all about how we engage with the world around us, and maybe even more importantly, how we engage with ourselves.
In our culture, it's so normal to want to be the loudest voice in the room, to dominate the conversation. We think it makes us seem smart or important, but in doing that, we're actually missing where the real power is.
This is all about the power of observational intelligence. When you stop performing and just start observing, you start to see what's really going on. The little cues, the unspoken things, the logic happening just under the surface. You're not just hearing anymore, you're actually decoding.
And for our final habit, it's the fear of being alone. We fill up every single quiet moment with noise, don't we? Podcasts, music, videos, because silence has somehow become uncomfortable. We've started to confuse being alone with being lonely. But here's the thing. Solitude is absolutely essential for a high-performing mind. There's something called the incubation effect, which shows that our best, most original ideas can only really bubble to the surface when we cut off all the noise and just give our brains some quiet space to think.
So after hearing all of these habits, you might be feeling a little, well, called out. But please, don't look at this as a failure. Just recognizing the pattern, that is the biggest victory you can have.
This right here is the real goal. It's called meta-awareness. It's the ability to just step back and watch your own behaviors and thoughts, but without judging yourself for them. The fact that you saw yourself in these habits means you're already doing it, and recognizing the trap is always the first step to getting out of it.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. You've now seen the hidden things that are draining your mental energy. The question isn't just, what will you do next, but what is the one small change you're going to make starting today to take back your focus?